Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I was debating to make this video because on one hand, this is a very late topic. It's about James Gunn and Superman, especially when I haven't seen the movie. Citation: I did watch Superman 25. Although Mr. Terrific was enjoyable, especially the reaction. Same with Lex. For the most part. If anything, the actors did very well. However, the script and story were terrible. And perhaps it might be controversial, but I think James Gunn's Superman is similar to Man of Steel, as if both films aren't terrible to watch, but aren't great either. They're both okay-ish, inoffensive films. That's my short opinion of it. If you want a more in-detailed review, comment down below. However, there's a comment saying me one of my videos, the Adam video, was really good and they wish to see more like this. So this may not be equally as quality, but it's kind of the thing where I just really want to do it. So whether it's late or not, it's all up to you. But essentially, I am very annoyed with James Gunn fans. So if you're a Cape Shit fan, you most likely noticed the trend of people making videos about Snyderverse, how much of a failure multiverse project it was. And while I'm not defending it, nor the unhinged fanbase, however, what annoys me are people glazing over James Gunn. They'll either say he saved DC, and the entire discourse, sometimes, not always, gets shut down because why would you hate James Gunn? Some Superman criticisms are stupid. Snyderverse bros are coping and seething. We're a bunch of fucking redditors. To be fair, I did find one channel that was a James Gunn hater. So just to clarify it, they do still exist. However, that doesn't excuse people like I Do Know Nothing being a biggest James Gunn cucksucker. Either him or Enterprise competing each other who can suck the most dick. I'm aware this video is 8+ months old, but just look and tell me if this statement aged like milk.
I really hope this is about a group of wacky outcasts that are forced together by a common goal and form a new family unit through shared trauma, standing up to their handlers, and also there's a wacky side character that says very little dog. Don't try to convince me this is bad or redundant or anything like that. Because if you don't get what this tweet is trying to entail, the new and first DCEU project that was actually James Gunn's idea, Creature Commandos, released an all-new trailer and is coming out this December. And I wasn't going to make a video on the trailer because my thoughts are very basic. It looks great. I'm excited. It's a James Gunn special. What more do you want? But this tweet kind of lit some of my chest hairs on fire and sparked a motivation to make this iCarly episode because they are obviously being sarcastic about being excited about James Gunn's 5th project about a band of outcasts coming together to be super goobers. And that kind of tickled my funny bone because first of all, this is not the storytelling concept James Gunn always does. And second, Gunn is good at the wacky outcasts coming together concept. In fact, hot take, every single time he's done one of these projects, they become more innovative.
Nigga, get the fuck out of here.
And Creature Commandos is apparently the saddest thing he's ever written. So again, if he wants to run it back with this concept, I don't care because he's always good at it. But overall, let's not act like directors never have a kind of genre they always want to stick to. Like Sam Raimi does his horror stuff, Scorsese does his mafia movies, and Nolan does his period pieces. And yes, they sometimes explore other concepts like Gunn does, but they will always have that one genre they want to go back to. Like, I'm not saying Gunn is as good as these filmmakers, I'm just saying every director has a genre that they love and always want to improve on it. Unless you're talking about Spielberg, he just does everything. But besides the point, Creature Commandos is gonna be lit.
It wasn't lit. It was his worst project. Granted, it's my opinion, though I couldn't find him reviewing Creature's Commando. Ironically, because this dude uploads videos like he took Adderall, which for normal people, it's equivalent to meth.
Love him or hate him, James Gunn is the best comic book filmmaker. At this point, after the world suddenly became Krispy Kreme, thanks to all the Superman glazing going on, I'm convinced as well. And I'm gonna join them in this cream supreme because I also do think James Gunn is the best comic book filmmaker of all time.
How the fuck are people still, to this day, think Rotten Tomatoes is a credible source? Okay, 2 can play this game. Avatar 2, Birds of Prey, ooh. Live action Lilo and Stitch, yeah, that proves my point.
However, I would like to see him take a jab at something that isn't heavy on comedy, but retains the action and settings that all of his other films do.
Last one would be Thunderbolts, but I haven't finished my other script. Yet, for those who cares, because of the multiple slop movies in general, not just Disney, some have lowered their standards to the point where people will see a mid or boring film / TV series and be like, masterpiece. And if you dare make a video criticizing masterpiece, multiple idiots will make response videos because they can't imagine having a different fucking opinion. Continuing on, no, I'm not a James Gunn hater. If anything, I'd rather watch his cape shit films than Zack Snyder's, because despite their flaws, they're still more fun to watch. I just think both directors have their own pros and cons, like a coin toss. Also, I'm going to be more critical on Gunn. Why? Well, what the hell you want me to say about Snyder? He's an edgelord. Regardless, the difference between Zack and James Gunn are like this. James is a comic book fan, while Zack is a filmmaker. That even though he did read comics beforehand, he does feel ashamed making a comic book film. Let me elaborate. Ever wonder why his films are both desaturated and edgy? That's because despite him reading The Dark Knight Returns or other comics, Zack doesn't take them seriously. I'm not going to try and over-exaggerate. Here's the Empire Film Podcast Batman v Superman audio.
And so you have these kind of... I kind of came to the conclusion also that they couldn't really talk in their suits with any credibility. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We had to get them back in their civvies.
So you couldn't have that version of the Heat coffee
You
shop.
can't in their suits. By the way, the honest truth is we talked all about, like, we need the heat scene. Like, that was like my mantra. I kept saying, we need the heat scene. We need the heat scene.
Yeah.
But like when they're in their suits, it was impossible. We tried it, and
Okay.
it's just one of those things that you know, if they're like more than 4 or 5 lines, and you start to notice, like, wait, these are 2 guys dressed up. One guy's dressed up like a bat, and the other one has a big red S on his chest, and they're being super serious about how mad they are at each other. And it just you can, you know, it's a dangerous thing, you know, because
Okay.
it just gets
It can after a while, I imagine. Yeah, absolutely.
Minus the fact that Zack's previous work was Watchmen, where 90% of characters talk with their costumes. Daredevil TV show exists, and if we include comics, there's a Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil 2019, issues 5 and 21, where Matt Murdock is chilling in his crib until Spider-Man shows up, looking like he's aura forming. I mentioned this comic because I believe if you show this to the filmmaker and tell him, hey, can you make Spider-Man scary? Show him the references from the comic, and I'll guarantee you with time and effort, dude can make Spider-Man terrifying. Another problem is Snyder does not respect the rules for these characters. Like, here's a clip to give an example.
When we were doing Man of Steel, I said, look, I've broken the rules on this. I know how this works. I know like, you know, it sounds rude, but like when people would say, oh, you can and can't do that.
So
like,
Watchmen almost freed you up. You knew, like, you had done it.
I was like, you know, like Batman can't, like, you know, we talked about like Batman can't shoot someone, Batman can't kill, Batman can do this, Superman can't do that, he can't kill Zod, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I'm like, it's hard for me to take that seriously after Watchmen. Like, if you do Watchmen, you've broken every possible rule of superhero iconology.
Yeah.
Like, you literally, like, these superheroes can't get it up unless they go do some superhero action.
Right.
Because their sexuality is linked to their costume and their identity, you know, and they're sort of turned on by their crime fighting. Okay, this is where I started. So,
So you want me to go backwards?
Yeah,
So,
like now it's
the
like
rules?
you're gonna give me some weirdo like adolescent like.
Yeah.
And we talked about, like, I saw this headline, Zack says Batman's irrelevant. Right. And I was like, that's so cool. Like, that's it's just such a weird clickbait thing, because that's not what I said at all. If you're paying attention, I said, like, he's only irrelevant if you can't stress him. Right. Like, if
Once he's safe, once any of
once
these
he's
guys
in
are
his
safe,
box
yeah.
and he's safe, then he, like, what, I don't know what's interesting about him. Right. Like, how do you stay with him?
Right.
He's doing the same thing over and over and over. Yeah, like, literally he can't, it's like he's caught in a loop. He's caught in some weird time loop where he can only, like, solve a crime, can't use a gun, can't hurt anyone. You know, like, the number of adventures he can go on becomes, like, limited to, like, this certain thing. And same with Superman. So I just think that it's really interesting. It's just, genre-wise, I'm fascinated by it still, because it just, every single super movie that comes out, kind of, they keep telling,
Like reinforcing.
reinforcing the flaws of the genre rather than kind of
Yeah, we're
trying
going to
to
see progress or new stories if we make the same thing literally over and over again.
And the problem is that, like, commerce is asking for it, or the sort of cracking of the code that was.
It's antithetical to the Hollywood equation, which
Yeah.
is like, no, do the exact same damn thing you've done for
Yeah,
50 years.
it doesn't work. And then even when it doesn't work, keep doing it for a while.
Right. Yeah, maybe the 4th iteration of it will work the same way.
Yeah.
More on that later. Okay, I think that's all for Snyder's section. Now we're going to James Gunn. James Gunn's biggest strength is he makes one or multiple niche characters and make them not just memorable, but also great. However, sin embargo, it would be completely dishonest for me to not mention that James Gunn will completely change the character's personality. I can't name everyone since I'm not a DC fan. Well, actually, I'm going to let my homie speak for me on the Sons of Themyscira.
Are you familiar? You remember the Creature Commandos, right?
I mean, yeah, we saw it.
Do you remember in episode 1, they mentioned a group called the Sons of Themyscira?
Yeah. Right wing, left people, yeah, with guns.
Yeah. They're not supposed to be that. Ronan nearly had a fucking fit when he saw it. Because he's a big fan of the concept. The Sons of Themyscira are supposed to literally be all the male-born Amazonians. The Amazons. What they do is, the Amazons, they sneak onto boats, find a bunch of sailors, either seduce or rape the sailors, kill the sailors when they're pregnant, when they know they've been impregnated, and then they give birth to children. If it is a girl, it is welcome to society. If it's a boy, they fling that fucking baby off a cliff. At least, that's how it used to be. Until Hephaestus showed up and he made them a deal. You give Hephaestus all of your sons, Hephaestus and his forged hands will make all of your weapons. So essentially, they're selling babies for metal.
Yeah.
And, yeah, those are the Sons of Themyscira. You can see why people aren't happy, why myself, Ronan, and several others are not happy that James Gunn turned into a right-wing, political allegory.
Yeah.
He keeps doing this. He did it with Supergirl as well. Kara never got drunk. She just was angry.
But back to Marvel. The other characters are the Guardians of the Galaxy, or more specifically, Peter Quill. Peter Quill in the comics is similar to Commander Shepard or Master Chief, i.e. very stoic and serious characters. Not to say MCU Quill is bad, no, he's still good, but similar to Fallout Bethesda versus New Vegas, or Marvel Comics versus MCU, you can tell how annoying it is to have two different communities disagreeing each other. Furthermore, if you're one of these people saying, "Oh, I don't care about comics nor how faithful it is. I care how it's shown to me on screen," shut up, your opinion is not deep. If you are adapting a character from the comics, novels, etc., and fundamentally change the character's personality, or just like Snyder, do not respect the rules of each character, then I might ask, what the fuck is the point of adapting a character? You might as well just make an OC for crying out loud. This also includes side characters like Supergirl, Frankenstein. From what I've heard, he's a lot cooler in the comics, and arguably the biggest one, Mungal. How did Amanda Waller somehow contain one of the Darksiders' minion? We'll never know. And how the hell did she die that easily? She isn't immortal, but she isn't easy to kill either. Now, I mentioned that James is a comic book fan. In one hand, this doesn't sound that bad. The issue, however, is he has the habit of putting too many references in his movies. It's not just exhausting, it's also annoying. Like, am I the only person who thinks Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner were either pointless or underutilized in the Superman movie? Hell, I could also see someone making an argument with Ultraman and or Metamorpho, because how bloated the cast is. Just like my plushies. Another flaw is his stories. To put it nicely, they're mid. Similar to Fallout TV show, it's more fun to watch characters dicking around than the actual story. My final criticism is that he's way too comfortable putting comedy in his films. When I say that, I don't mean he should go from superhero movie to Chernobyl. But Jesus Christ, man, it does feel like there's a comedic relief every so often. Then having licensed music just so a character can aura form. It gets old and predictable really quick. Also, his brother's in every project. no offense, Gunn, but your brother is a shit actor and you should fire him. In conclusion, you can have both of your personal favorite director and writer. However, don't ever worship them like gods, because if you do, then they'll never improve their work in the future. We kinda seen it with Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon or Dave Filoni's Ahsoka, his favorite Mary Sue OC. Anyways, thank you for watching and have a nice day night.